Welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, WIZE, and my next guest, excuse me, is a two-time best-selling author, host of the Learn It All podcast, and CEO of Learnit, a live learning platform that has helped over 2 million professionals upskill and thrive. With roots in competitive baseball and nearly 3 decades leading a global training company, Damon's blended grit, growth, and game time decision making into a modern blueprint for leadership. He's a passionate advocate for lifelong learning and a firm believer that learn it all organizations will always outperform know it all ones. Damon's approach fuses sports discipline with executive wisdom, offering practical insights for anyone looking to grow on the field, in the office, or within themselves. Welcome to the show, Damon Lembi.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. Thanks for we were supposed to actually connect about a month ago, so but we had a family thing come up. So I'm glad you finally got the chance to come on the show.
No, I'm honored to be here, and thanks for being flexible. I can't remember what it was. I think my kid was sick or something.
It was or spring break or something. Anyway, what was the moment you realized baseball was preparing you for preparing you for business leadership?
That's a great question. I think that I never even thought I would be in business. I thought I'd just be a big league baseball player, retire, and set off onto the sunset. So I think that I finally realized what a huge impact it would be is when I took over as CEO of Learnit 4 or 5 years into my career. Then I'm like, hey, all the stuff that I learned out on the playing field has been a huge help for me in my business career.
Oh, so how did your transition from athlete to CEO challenge you emotionally or mentally?
It was a tough change. My entire life I thought I was going to be a baseball player. I was lucky and fortunate. I got drafted a couple times by the Braves and then once again by the Yankees. But I passed up until my junior year in college, actually my senior year in college, and I thought, hey, this is going to be my shot. I have a good year. I didn't get drafted. And so here I am at 22 years old. And my identity was always a baseball player. And so I'm kind of like, what do I do now? And so it was a tough thing mentally to have to deal with because I was always thought of myself as a baseball player.
So what inspired you to write the Learn It All Leader, and what surprised you during the writing process?
What inspired me to write it was really, I had to give my wife a lot of credit. She kind of pushed me to it. She said, you're a good storyteller. People are always asking your stories, and you had so many great experiences over the years at Learnit. And I started it about my family, but when I got into it, I really wanted to share more for 3 reasons. One, if somebody like me can go from sports, I don't have an Ivy League degree or anything. So, I've been able to be successful as a CEO, and so can somebody else. I mean, that to me is really key. Number 2, I've had the good fortune in the work we do to look behind the curtains of what real leadership looks like, both good and bad. And so I wanted to share out those experiences. And number 3 is my dad was a big part of my life. I lost him to cancer in about 2011. And my kids, I got, even though I'm an older guy, I got 2 little kids. I got a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. And so I wanted them to understand the legacy that and everything he's done for our family, and because he came up with the ideas for Learnit, so I wanted to share his story as well.
Awesome. How do you personally cultivate a learn it all mindset each day?
Well, I can't say I do it every day. I look at a learn it all mindset as that you're being open, you're flexible, and maybe you don't have all the answers all the time, and you're able to change. Where on the flip side, you have the know-it-all mentality. It's like, this is how we've always done it. This is how we're going to continue to do it. And I think when you have that kind of attitude and that mindset, you're really stacking the odds against yourself, especially these days, because things are just changing so fast. So you have to have learn it all mindset. And then when you dip into, having a negative or a know-it-all mindset, hopefully you can catch yourself and get yourself out of it.
Well, what's the moment in your career where you failed forward, and what did you learn?
a moment in my career where I guess you could say I failed forward was early on. This is back, I don't know if you remember these days, but back in the dot-com days in the
Yeah.
late 1990s, early 2000s, things were going well at Learnit, but all my friends were like paper millionaires. They had all their success in the telecom companies, dot-com companies, and I really pushed our board to expand, and we overexpanded against a lot of people's wishes, and then things fell apart. And it was a tremendous learning lesson. We were able to survive that, and the lessons I took from the first dot-com failure has actually helped us through a couple of the other economic downturns in like 2009, and then again at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah. Can you share a time when a live training experience I learned to create a breakthrough for a client?
I would say one of the things that are really exciting to me is when you hear back from your customers, whether it's an organization or an individual who have picked up skills and confidence that's really helped them. And there's been cases where people say, "Hey, Damon," they'll send me an email and say, "I got promoted because I taking classes at Learnit really helped me with my executive presence or my ability on decision making, and so I'm so grateful for that." So that's one example from an individual level. I also like it when customers come to us and they do their biannual check-in with their team, and you see the scores go up. And when the overall experience and people feel like the atmosphere is better at the organization, and they tie it back to, "Hey, thank you for giving us these professional development opportunities," that's a great way to see ROI on training as well. Is that the employees feel like they have a place where they belong and there's more purpose for the work they do.
Uh, what have you learned from hosting the Learn It All podcast that has changed your own leadership style? Because I know me personally from all the interviews I've learned so much, and these got like it was a point where I was enjoying these conversations so much. It was like, oh man, I kind of feel selfish because I'm enjoying the interviews.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious if you have one main thing, but for me, I love it, because I like to read books, and now a lot of times I can reach out to the authors of the books that I've read, and then you get a 1 hour conversation with them, and you could ask them these specific questions in real time. So it's just a tremendous opportunity. I think one thing I found across the board with a lot of these great leaders is that they're humble, curious, and they're not afraid to admit that they don't have all the answers. What about you? Is there anything that you think kind of stuck out the most to you?
Oh man, to me, it's amazing. Like it's amazing for like how you said, some of the people I've spoken to are some of the most humblest people that like they love the fact that they get to share their knowledge or whatever. Because like anyone else, they say, yeah, they don't know everything, but they enjoy to share the stuff that they do know. So being able to have these conversations for me is just it's like I get to learn in the process, and at the same time open my platform so that other people can benefit just as much as I'm benefiting from the podcast.
Yeah, it's like a win-win for everybody. I mean, you're
Yeah,
you're giving, because you're putting out all this valuable content, and in return, you're learning and be able to grow yourself.
yeah. What do you believe separates a good leader from a great one?
I think what separates a good leader from a great one is the ability to overcome failure. I think a lot of times that you could fail as a leader in different areas, and maybe it's tough to get over that. Doesn't mean you're a bad person or a bad leader, but I think great leaders understand that there are going to be failures, and they take those failures and it helps accelerate them through the learning curve of what they've been through, so they come out better on the other side.
So how do you tailor learning experiences for both seasoned executives and young professionals?
It's a good question, and it's very similar to leading an organization, because there's 5 different generations in the workforce these days, and the Gen Zs and the millennials, they a lot of times want to be led differently than some of the boomers. So the same thing happens with learning. They have different the attention spans. Maybe the younger generation wants gamification. So what you have to try to do is find a happy medium, and start off by maybe even being curious and seeing what's important to them, and designing programs that maybe meet somewhere in the middle where you can get everybody engaged and participating with each other all at the same time.
What's the biggest myth about corporate training you love to bust? Like, what's something that you just love to demystify?
I would say a lot of times organizations, they look at it as a checked box, meaning that, okay, uh, people think it's important, so we'll invest the money in it, just get it out of the way. And they just feel like, well, people should already have these skills, or why are we even doing it? Well, that's really not true. If you look at the studies, studies say that organizations that invest in training, this is just one from LinkedIn, like last year or 2 years ago, 94% of people would stay longer in an organization that has a robust professional development program. So it isn't just check the box, throw it out there, nobody cares. I mean, there's a lot of value and purpose behind great learning programs. And that's why I think organizations need to look at it less like it's an expense and more like it's an investment into their team and their staff.
Absolutely. What role does humility play in building a learn it all culture?
And I'm sure this is something that you see quite a bit interviewing these great individuals, how humble they are. And when it comes to building a learning culture, learn it all culture, it's really not necessarily just about formal training. Hey, we're going to put together our training programs. A lot of times, what I believe it is, great leadership starts at the top. So you got to model the behavior you want everybody else to have throughout your organization. And so if you have leaders who aren't afraid to say, look, I don't have all the answers, or I made a mistake, it gives everybody else in the organization the confidence that they can say, look, I don't have all the answers, I made a mistake, and that their leaders would have their back. And when they feel like their leaders trust them and have their back, well, that's a great opportunity for them to then try things, stick their neck out there. If they fail, they can learn from those failures and move forward, instead of an organization where anytime you do anything wrong, you get reprimanded. And when that happens, people just stay in the box they're in, and try to, go below the radar and just stay out of getting in trouble. And if you have an organization or a culture where it's fear-based, well, people aren't going to grow. And in return, your company's not going to grow and evolve either.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important that you train your employees and have these trainings for them, so that you prepare them, and they see that you want them to grow and develop when you provide these trainings. But when you just expect them to just know it all, and it doesn't work out that way, yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had this one CEO of this company tell me, I don't know why we have to do training for everybody. I just assume, we're paying them a big salary, they should have all these skills. I mean, I just said, hey, this is probably not something you want to share with the rest of your team to hear. It's okay if you want to have these kind of thoughts, you can, but that, what skills you have now are always going to evolve. And I actually think it's great that his team was pushing him on doing training, because it showed me that they want to grow and evolve.
Hmm. Yeah. What what's your go-to habit when you feel stuck or uninspired as a leader?
My go-to habit, if I feel stuck, uninspired, or just frustrated, is, if it's something that's important, is you just have to go all in and just keep working hard and just do it. Work your way through it. Because if an opportunity comes up or a challenge, sitting back on your butt, you're never going to get through it. So you just have to maybe even think about some of the successes you've had in the past, and you're capable of doing these things, but you just got to roll up your sleeves and do it, because things aren't just going to, sometimes you have to create your own luck, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. What what live music artist would inspire us to find what live music artist would surprise us to find on your playlist?
Well, I'm a big music guy across the board, so I love this question. And I'm a big more rock guy. I like 80s, 90s music, like Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, bands like that. But you might be surprised to find that on my liked songs on Spotify is a song from the movie Frozen. I'm a fixer upper. I'm a fixer upper, and it's one of my favorites because I have a 7-year-old daughter who's a big fan of Elsa and everything, and somehow it got stuck on my list, and now it pretty much every morning or even twice a day when it cycles through, you hear a song like I'm a fixer upper. So that's probably the most interesting. My buddies will give me a hard time about.
If it was here, yeah. What does a perfect day off in Sausalito with your dog Pablo look like?
Well, first of all, I'm blessed to still have my main man, Pablo, who's 17 and a half.
Wow.
He's 17 and a half, and he's seen a lot over the years, Pablo. He's seen a lot over the years, and he's not that mobile anymore. But a great day for me and Pablo is just kind of chilling at the park and maybe get him some human food, because if there's one thing he hasn't lost over these years is the appetite. And I just sometimes I get frustrated because he's so slow, or maybe he has an accident inside the house every now and then. But then I got to remember he's not going to be around forever, so I got to be grateful for every moment I have with him. So thanks for asking.
Oh, I know. 17 and a half. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
dogs are
amazing.
the best.
Yeah. How do you balance being a high performance CEO and with staying present for your family?
I think that's very difficult, but it's also very important, because at the end of the day, I look at it this way: what am I doing this all for? Is it for whatever I want to set a good example for my kids, of course, my wife too. But I want to set a very good example. But at the end of the day, to me at least, there's nothing more important than those two little ones, and they grow up really fast. Somebody told me the other day that the days are long and the years are short, and they're 3 and 7 right now. And so, as much as I've come home sometimes, because I go to the office, my mind's racing and I'm thinking about work. A lot of times when Wally says he wants to watch Paw Patrol or go out in the backyard and play basketball, then I gotta force myself to stay present and remind myself that that's most important.
Amazing. Yes. Awesome. What sports lessons still shows up in your business life regularly?
I think there's sports lessons that show up in my business life regularly is, athletes, they tend to be good at receiving feedback.
Okay.
For example, and this hasn't always been this way for me really, but back in the day, if I went up to the plate and I struck out, the hitting coach might tell me, you got to make these adjustments. You have to listen to them. And then I have to turn around, use some. So I took in the feedback, then I have to use that learning agility to go up to the plate and make an adjustment. And so that's something that sticks with me all the time. Also in sports, there's team collaboration where you can't win, especially in a sport like baseball or basketball or football. You can't just do it all yourself. And when you're leading an organization, you need to win through your team. And so that's what sports taught me, as well as course, is just the perseverance and dealing with failure. I think that you don't even have to. I played baseball, like I said, talked about through college. You don't even need. I just think all kids should be playing sports. There's so much you could learn at all levels that you can carry on to both your personal and your professional life as you get older.
Yeah. I played all through high school. I played baseball, football.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a
What
great
position in
experience.
football?
Tight end, defensive end,
All right. Okay.
and then I played catcher and right field.
Were you a better hitter or defensive player?
Way better hitter.
Okay, me too. But catching's a tough position. I played 1 year in college as a catcher, and it was kind of miserable, squatting down all day long and getting foul tips.
It's it's no fun. No.
Yeah.
What's your advice to leaders trying to shift from know it all to learn it all culture?
My advice is, say somebody comes to you with an idea, and the second that they start sharing that idea with you, you're immediately formulating in your mind, this won't work. and you're just ready to shut them down, and you're already formulating an objection to them. Well, my advice is just pause for a second, hear them out, and thinking about what could be possible. What is it possible that this will work or not? And especially these days, I want both myself and everybody else in my organization to say, is this possible? And how can leveraging AI make it even better? So I think that's important as well. I think you got to be open to possibilities where I think the curse of all terms is this is how we've always done it, or this has been a process that we've always had. I mean, that should just be eliminated from everybody's vocabulary.
Since you brought it up, AI, um, how has it affected you? How have you been using it in your business?
Well, at home, my daughter says, You spend too much time on ChatGPT. You're always talking to ChatGPT all the time." And we even use it for storytelling and everything. How I use AI for business, again, it goes back to modeling it for your team. I want my team using it. I want
Mm.
them to be involved in using it, and they are. Outside of just the regular, here's how I write articles, or spell check this for me. I really use it as a thought partner to challenge my assumptions. So I'll say, here's what I'm thinking of doing, and here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Can you give me 3 reasons why whatever I'm looking at doing wouldn't work, or is there better ways to do it? So I try to use it as a thought partner instead of just uh, you know writing text. I love it. I think that there's so much you can do, um, that you could leverage. And even these days, if we have to write up a contract for a customer or an employee or something, instead of sending it to a lawyer and having them charge you for 10, 15 hours, you could write the first draft through ChatGPT, and then you could cut back on your hours by 80%, let's say.
Yeah, no, I've definitely used it
How
a
about
lot.
you?
Oh, I've used it so much. I've and it's not just ChatGPT. I use other softwares that like. I use Cast Magic to help me with my podcast. Um, there's a couple other ones that I use. I use Midjourney. Of course, use ChatGPT, and like you, I use it more as a partner,
Mhm.
someone to collaborate with, and get and just feed it information, and like you said, give it my ideas and see, hey, how do you think this will work? Or how, and just ask questions, and just look at, like, especially for the podcast.
I was going to ask Cast Magic. Everybody keeps telling me about it. Can you give me like what's one great thing that to use Cast Magic for?
Um, for me, it is. I got a number of things that I use it for. I use it for the clips.
Mhm.
It actually clips out and tells and separates some good quotes from the episode. Uh, it creates a blog post. It has actually let's see, because I was just using it earlier. Hold on.
Yeah, you're like the third person in the last week to tell me about it.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, I purchased it through AppSumo, so I have a lifetime license, and so I have 200 minutes a month. It transcribes the episodes for me. Like I said, it does blog posts. It gives me threads that I can use on Threads, LinkedIn posts, Instagram posts. It tells me a script for a reel. It does so many different things. It makes things easier sometimes. Like
It's good to know. Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it transcribes it, so I'm able to upload the transcription to my podcast host. I also breaks it down into chapters, so I get to upload chapters up, and so now my podcast, you see it is
On
separated into
YouTube as
chapters.
chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use any tools for helping prepare for podcasts? To like research guests.
I use ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah,
See, there you
and
go. It's a nice learning lesson for me.
yeah, no, I use ChatGPT to find out about my guests, and I I ask my guests for their bio, and then I also, yeah, but and I ask ChatGPT, and it's helped me improve my show and make my show so much easier. Like before, it was spending more time getting prepared for the show.
Yeah.
Now I'm able to cut down in the time and I'm ready for the show by the time it's ready to go. Like when we're ready to record.
Yeah, it's a game changer. It can be a game changer
Yeah,
if you tools are just tools, but if you think critically on how you could leverage them, for
yeah,
your best fit, that's where you get the most value from them.
yeah. Can you recall a guest from your podcast who changed your perspective on leadership?
I would say I really like Tom Mendoza.
Mm,
I'm not necessarily, he was the chairman at NetApp and the president, way back in the day. Not necessarily change my perspective, but more, it was just like if somebody that can do that at his level, and one of the things that he would do is he'd call 5 employees either a day or a week and just thank them for what they did. And if he could carve out the time and just leave voicemails and just tell people how grateful he is for them, I mean, that's one thing that stood in my mind. The other thing that he said, which is true, is everybody they hire, their first job is sales, and then after that, it's whatever we hired on your job description. But everybody's in sales at one degree or another, and I think that that's really to be in that mindset where you're not just here trying to upsell people all the time, but you are forward thinking, customer focused, because we all need to work together. It can't just be the sales team. It needs to be, if you're in accounting or marketing, everybody needs to be going in the same direction. So he was a tremendous guest. I had a lot of them, but that is the first one that comes to mind.
yeah.
What about you? Do you have one that comes top of mind that was just awesome?
Oh man. For me, I was able to interview now his name doesn't want to pop in.
Yeah, that's all right.
um uh, oh, Bob Doyle. I was able to interview Bob Doyle from Secret. So that was a great
Okay,
experience for me.
awesome.
Yeah. Um what's one mistake leaders often make when trying to upskill their teams?
The one big mistake that leaders make when they're trying to upskill their teams is they invest in they spend the money on the training, but then they don't give them the time to be able to do the training. Now, a lot of our training, 90% of it is live virtual over Zoom, but sometimes organizations invest also in on-demand videos. Great, but I like to call it LTO, learning time off. Just like you have PTO, you got to give
Mhm.
people the opportunity to understand it's okay to get away from your day-to-day responsibilities and learn the skills that you have, the skills that you need to acquire. You can't just expect them to do it on their own time all the time, because it's just not fair, and I think it stresses people out too much. So the big mistake organizations make is they invest financially, but they don't invest the time necessary to be able to do it.
When you look back 10 years from now, what impact do you hope your work has made?
What I hope my work has made is I just want to be able to say that I contributed to building and developing better leaders for the future.
Awesome. And now we've come to the show where you get to plug away, let everybody know where they can find your website, book, everything.
All right. Well, first, check me out on the Learn It All podcast. I am very grateful to have a platform to be able to meet and interview great people. My company website is learnit.com. Check that out. And if you want to connect with me, it's the best place to do that is LinkedIn at Damon Lembi.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Thank you, Damon, for being such a great guest, man. I greatly appreciate you stopping by and sharing some great stuff with us, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, it's a
Keep up
pleasure
the good
having you.
work.
I'm trying. It's to me it's not work. It's so much fun, man.
That's the best way. I mean, if everybody could find a job or a career where they enjoy it. I have one buddy who really loves his work. He always says, "When's Monday?" because he wants to get back. I mean, you got to have work-life balance or whatever, but
Yeah,
it's great to have something you're passionate about that you're able to do. So good for you.
absolutely. But thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate you being a guest.
Thank you, buddy.
You're more than welcome to come back. I love having people come back, and if you have
Love to.
write another book or
Yeah,
anything, just or a program coming out, let me know, and we'll have you back on to come promote it.
I'd love to. Thanks for the offer.
Thank you, man. Great. Thanks for being such a great guest. All right, don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show, and we're gonna talk a little bit off the air. But thank you once again. All right, everybody. Another great show is in the can. I greatly appreciate everybody who stopped by, who left a like. Thank you, greatly appreciate it. Please, if you haven't, please follow the podcast on all major platforms as well as YouTube. Big shout out to my real wise fan, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Shout out to the boss lady. Love you. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. Your boy Wise does it. Peace out.